Welcome to the In Full Bloom podcast. I am your host, Ashley Renee. This is a space where we embrace the power of being true to who we are. We explore what it means to live in alignment with your purpose, values, and voice, because when you root yourself in authenticity, you don't just grow, you bloom. Join me as we dive into real conversations, soulful reflections, and practical tools to help you bloom from the inside out. Welcome back to another episode of the In Full Bloom podcast with me, your host, Ashley Renee. This week's episode is entitled Quit Playing Small. If you guys have been with me for a minute, you may recognize this title. You may recognize that this is not new to me or new for me, because Quit Playing Small is actually the title of the very first speaking engagement that I'd done. And this happened, I think, in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And looking back at it now, I'm smiling, I'm cheesing, because it's almost surreal that I actually willed myself to get up in front of a stage and speak to a group of people. And, it wasn't hundreds, but honestly, it was probably close to 100, now that I think about it. And just thinking back on the time, thinking back on how I was choosing to live my life, I kind of just had this sense of, if the world ends tomorrow, if COVID takes us all out, will I look back and be regretful, resentful of myself if I don't take hold of this opportunity? And when I sit back and think about it, I was actually on a beach in St. Martin, living my best life, when an email came through from Dr. Shamika Latte that she wanted me to be a guest in her speaking conference. And I think prior to that, she had reached out to me for an Instagram feature, which, to be honest, I was like, wait a minute, you want me to be on your page? Like, why? And at the time I was doing a lot of Instagram lives. I was putting myself out there, encouraging women. Again, just being fully immersed in purpose. It was new discovery for me. It was a new time. I felt like I was rediscovering myself in that moment, in that era, in that season when, again, the world went silent. And I was just like, you know what? There are all these things that I want to do, all these thoughts that I have floating around in my mind, and I want to put them out there. I want to birth them. I want to give voice to them. So I remember her featuring me on Instagram. And then months later, she had reached out to me and said, I want you to be a speaker at my conference. And, we had met about it. I had done the interview. Oh my goodness. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like bringing back so many memories. And I remember thinking, what would my topic be? Like, what would I actually go in front of a group of people and talk about? Because I'm not, like a world-renowned speaker or anything like that. I'm just me. I just talk to people based on how I feel, what I think, my experiences, what I want people to feel, because that's how I want to feel, And I remember brainstorming, like literally brainstorming, sitting down with my notebook, trying to go through, okay, how am I feeling in the season? What do I want to feel in the season? How can I help others to feel the same way? How can I help others to get to a space of discovering purpose, to discover their voice, to discover what it is that they want to do with their lives? And quit playing small was a topic that came up for me. It's something that I have incorporated into my life. And sometimes I forget, if I'm being very honest. Sometimes I go through these seasons and these bouts of, I feel like I'm on top of the world and I can do anything and I don't care who's watching, and I feel unstoppable. And there's some moments where I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. What? Like, I'm not there yet. That's for like the grown-ups. Like I'm a baby grown-up. I'm not there yet. And now that I look back on it, I'm like, Ash, you really like put yourself out there. You really went and spoke on these people's stage twice, like year after year. And it's not to be boastful. It's not to be, like, I did this. It's really like, wow, I really put words into action. Quit playing small is more than just, oh, get out there and put on your best show. I truly believe that it takes courage, it takes confidence, it takes grit, it takes overcoming, dismantling. I heard Pastor Sarah Jakes the other day. I was watching a clip on Instagram and she said it's more than just overcoming fear, overcoming obstacles. Sometimes it means dismantling those things. Because when you overcome something, you might just be stepping over it, you might be stepping under it, swerving, like skirt around it. But when you dismantle something, you give yourself the permission to step to it in such a way where you're saying, I'm scared while doing this, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I can tell you, as I think back on my very, very, very first speaking engagement, I think of dismantling that fear. I think of quit playing small. Because trust me, up until that moment that I actually got on that stage, I was like, I'm not even sure what I'm doing here. Like, what if I get on that stage and freeze? And I think my second speaking engagement, I had that moment of, I was frozen a little bit and then the words just started to flow. But again, dismantling that fear, letting people know sometimes that it's okay to not know everything. It's okay to not be the expert in everything that I do, because I'm not. And even as I think about my current role, there were moments when, before I got into this position, before I got into leadership, like an official leadership title, where I was like, yeah, like I can do this. Oh, it's not that big of a deal. You know what? Hey, you just learn the things and then go forth with it. But there were moments when I was like, these people really take me serious. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that sometimes it takes for us to step into a position, a role, a moment to really realize that we know a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. We know a lot more than it may seem to others. And a lot of times, what I've realized over the years, whether I was in an official leadership role or not, or whether people saw me as their mentor or a resource, I've realized that a lot of times the answer is something very simple. A lot of times the answer is really about problem solving on the spot, in the moment, jogging on whatever experiences you have or whatever knowledge you have to give someone that response, to give someone that reassurance, if you will, that they need. So quit playing small for me is more than just, acting on this sense of confidence or acting on, basically acting on, putting on for others, putting on for, the world to see. Is really a sense of self, is really coming into who you are, discovering that confidence within you so that you can be the best you can be. I know it sounds cliche, but stepping into the world with this renewed sense of confidence, because you know that you can take on anything that you put your mind to. I truly believe that quit playing small is more than just, something nice to say. So as I think about the conferences that I've done, speaking engagements that I've done, I think about, and I always go back to this, and I think it's very interesting to me how life plays out, because I don't think, and I'm trying to say this the way that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that God gives us moments, experiences, things just to give it to us. As I think about my first speaking engagement, even the second, because that's actually where what I'm about to say came up, it brings me back to a moment in life where I was an only child for 19 years. So I used to play with my dolls a lot. I used to play with, just really anything I could find. And I was the baby in the house for a very long time. A lot of my Like my cousins, my aunts, uncles, they're at least 10 to 20 years older than I am. So a lot of the times I'll be in my own world. I'm imagining things, I'm playing things out as I see them in my head, things like that. And a lot of times my dolls, my Barbies were my babies. And I remember Saturdays were like fun days, play days. Sundays were going to church days. And almost every Sunday after church, I would go home, sit my dolls on the veranda, and preach to them, like legit preach to them, get whatever mop stick, broomstick, stick I can find. And I would stand up and I would preach to my dolls. And I remember reflecting on that after I booked my first speaking engagement. I remember just sitting there and kind of having like a moment of reflection and saying, oh my goodness, like maybe I was really meant to do this. Because I truly think that a lot of times the things in our childhood, the things that we experience as we're getting older, as we're growing up, I do feel like those experiences mirror into adulthood if we allow ourselves to explore and imagine and go back to those childhood years. I hope that makes sense. Because when I'm up on stage and I'm thinking, I'm reflecting, I'm like, oh my goodness, but I've done this before. Obviously not in an official sense, but I've done it in the sense that I was a kid preaching to my dolls. I'm on a stage preaching to people, and it's the same thing. And I don't believe that God puts us in situations where it's 100% unfamiliar. I don't know how else to explain it, but there are multiple moments throughout my life that I think about, oh my God, something is happening, or oh my goodness, this is a great opportunity, but I don't know how to navigate this thing. But then in a slither or a second, I think about, oh my goodness, but wow, I've seen this done before. I've done this before in an unofficial sense, but it's happened before. I can tap into those moments, and as childish as it sounds, because I'm saying it, I might sound crazy, but when I think about me standing up on my veranda, on my porch, back home in Jamaica, preaching to my dolls, it's almost like a mirror reflection to me standing up on stage, speaking to a crowd of people. And I do believe that in playing small, a lot of the times, we tend to allow ourselves to cower. We allow ourselves to step back into fear or be overcrowded by fear. We don't give ourselves the space and the moment to dream, to breathe life into something. And as I think about playing small, I think about the years that I held myself back, not because anybody physically told me I couldn't, but because of fear, because I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to feel foolish. I didn't want for others to say, oh, but why are you doing this? Oh, that doesn't make sense. Oh, and over the years, I have heard one or two things that people will say, oh, but why are you doing that? Oh, but don't you already have a career? Oh, but like, isn't that extra? But that's not really your personality. And especially when we're younger, if we don't have a strong sense of self, if we don't have strong support systems, if we don't have people to speak life into us, we let that get into our heads and really seep into who we are as people, who we are as an individual, in the sense that if you tell me that a certain thing doesn't match my personality, I may dream of becoming this thing, doing this thing for years, but because one person told me that, now I hold myself back because I don't believe that I'm capable of doing it. And I'm pretty sure when I told people like, oh yeah, I'm going to be, like a part of a speaking conference, they're like, huh, what, you? But you're so quiet, but you're not really, and I had to give myself the permission to say, no, I'm doing it. One, because it's something I've always dreamed of. And two, because I do feel like God is using me, that girl that's probably always in the background, always in the corner, always like, no, 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 you got it. You're good. It's okay. I'll sit right here, to deliver a message, to speak life into others who may be feeling the same way, to speak life into others who may be the complete opposite of me, but who truly on the inside are going through things, are feeling insecure, are having moments where they're not feeling 100% like themselves, but they don't know how to put life into that. They don't know how to give word to it. They don't know how to overcome or dismantle those things. So for me, quit playing small is more than just acting on confidence or doing something for the gram or, oh, like this looks good, let's do it. Like, let's boast and put ourselves out there and give big voice to things. Is really owning who I am, owning the thoughts, the dreams that I have, the aspirations that I have, and really acting on them so that I can inspire others, so that I can give life to myself, so that I can sit here and record this episode on this podcast. Because if I didn't have the courage to do so, you wouldn't get this message, right? So thinking back on even my current leadership role, I think of the ways in which for at least 3 years, let's say 2 years, I have heard people say to me, oh my gosh, I think you'd be amazing for this role. I think you'd be perfect. I think you should because I know that you're capable. I think you should because you can relate to people on a certain level and no matter what, you'll be supported. And for a couple of years, I've said, nah, I'm good. Nah, I don't want the stress. I don't want the headache. And as much as that is true, I also know that there is a piece of fear that was connected to it. What if I fail? What if I don't have the answers that they need? What if in the moment they need a quick response and I don't have it to give? What if, like just all the what ifs. And now that I'm in more of a role with a little bit more responsibility, I still have moments where I'm like, am I really doing this? Like, are these people for real? Like, they trust me to do this? Because I don't know if I even trust me enough, right? But I still walk into it a little scared. I still walk into it not having all the answers. I can still acknowledge, and this is something that it can be a blessing and a curse, but this is something that I've practiced over the years of saying, I don't have all the answers and I won't have all the answers, but I can do my best and I can put my best foot forward to being the resource that you need to get you the answers that you need. And over the years, I think that has saved me because even though I don't have the answers, even though I don't know how things work sometimes, I can be a resource and I can tap into other resources to help me along the way, to help to guide me along the way. And I think that's important. I think that a lot of playing small too is holding yourself back from doing things because you don't have the full picture. You don't feel 100%. I can tell you there are days when in every aspect of my life, I feel like a good 75, maybe even 50. But I still choose to show up. I still choose to put my best foot forward because I know that there are people depending on me. And it may not necessarily be like they need me to survive, but I do know that the little piece that I have in their lives or the little piece that I have in this room, this moment, this environment may very well be the thing that gets us a little step closer to the goal. Like, I know that. And my prayers used to look a lot like, Lord, please use me. And over the years, I've realized that it's kind of a setup, if I'm being honest, because when God uses you, he doesn't use you because you necessarily have all the answers. He uses you because he wants to show that he can really put anybody into the slot and have amazing results. He can put anybody into the slot to deliver a message. And over time, I've learned that I may not necessarily have all the answers. I may not be the best resource, if I'm being really honest, but I can be a resource again to get those answers, to bridge the gap for someone, to show that in some ways my life almost mirrors somebody else's situation. Even if right now I may look like I have it all together. I didn't always have it all together. I didn't always have the perfect life or what seems to be the perfect life. I didn't always have the answers, but my experiences, my moments, my dismantling the fears, my stepping into moments unsure has allowed me to get to this point. And if I can be a muse, if I can be an inspiration, if I can be that voice that someone needs to get a little step closer to their goal, to that thing that they've always dreamed of, I think that that is important. And for me, quit playing small embodies a lot of that. I've been talking, and I've been blabbering about my own experiences, but I just wanted to share the playing small definition. It says that playing small is dimming your light and settling for less than you're capable of, often out of fear of failure, rejection, or judgment, heading for self-abandonment and a life unliked. That's a lot. That's really honestly a lot. Heading for self-abandonment and a life unliked. That to me just means holding yourself back so much so to the point where you don't recognize who you are, where you probably have an image of how you want to move through this life, what you want to look like in this life, but harping on playing small, harping on fear, harping on not putting your best foot forward has prevented you from stepping into that person, from being who you say you want to be, from acting on it. And self-abandonment I've had moments where I don't know if it was necessarily self-abandonment or I was just, going through some things. But I've had that moment where I've looked in the mirror and I'm like, what is this? Who is this? Who are you? Like, you don't feel like yourself anymore. And it's not okay. It's a very, almost like a chilling feeling, because when you come back to self, when you start to do the things again, when you start to give voice to yourself and speak yourself up, you realize, oh my God, wow, I was really going through something. And living in a space of fear will do that to you. Living in a space of fear will cause you to, it's almost like life is going by and you haven't, you can't see it. Like you literally can't. It's almost like a horse with blinders on. You really can't see what's happening because everything is just passing you by, because you're abandoning self. You're abandoning the life that you very well want, the life that you very well have. I know, and this is something that in the past almost year, I've said to myself, like, I want to live. I want to be able to laugh out loud, enjoy myself, do the thing that I thought about, be unapologetic about any and everything, honestly. In recent months, I have almost been a little bit more carefree, especially when I'm with my sister. I think because of how life has panned out, since my stepmother's death, I have really just given myself permission to live. And it looks, everybody's live, quote unquote, will look very different. Some people will want to travel the world. Some people will pick up and quit their job and, just try things. Some people, personalities will change. How they do things will change. For me, it's just giving myself permission to be. And that may not resonate with everybody, but for me, it means the world. For me, it means not thinking twice sometimes before doing things. I mean, and that comes with context. Every area of my life is going to be a little bit different. But just when I'm existing, just when I am being me, right? Forget the titles, forget work, forget being in spaces where you have to come and present yourself a certain way. Forget all those things. When I'm chilling out, just walking down the street, I want to give myself permission to be, to laugh unapologetically, to bust out in a dance if that's what I feel led to do in that moment. If I hear a song playing, not restricting my voice because I actually really want to sing the song out loud. And it might seem very simple. You might be like, what, girl? Like, that's no big deal. But I've given myself permission to do those things because I think it has a lot to do too with how I was raised. You're modest, you make sure you keep yourself together in a certain way and things like that. And not to say that I was restricted at all, but I think that I grew up very modest, very put together, very stoic. And as I get older, I'm like, I'm giving myself permission to dance in the middle of the street if I feel led to do so. And it's freeing and it feels good. And I think that in seeing how life has played out in the past couple months, I know that life is short. I know that anything can happen in a split second. I know that life sometimes seems unfair. It may seem like it's robbing us of certain things, people, experiences. And in thinking about all those things, I'm giving myself permission to live. Live out loud, live unapologetically. Because life is short. Because again, things happen in a split second of a moment. And before you know it, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, how did we get here? Just this morning, as I'm getting my day started and I'm like, all right, what's for breakfast? What are you gonna do? I sit on my couch and I see one of my friends text in a group chat. And she's like, I was just looking back at one of our trips and we had a time. We had a ball and it was amazing. And I'm just so grateful for the experience. And she was like, I was really just sitting down cheesing, looking back at these pictures because we really like did the thing. And it makes me feel good to see my friends go out and travel. And these are friends that I travel with and have been traveling with actually for I think almost 10 years now, almost 10 years. And almost every year we take a trip somewhere, whether it's local, whether it's international. Yes, sometimes, life happens and I'm not able to travel or we haven't been able to travel together. But in traveling with them, they have opened up, and I don't think I've ever shared the extent to which they have opened up, I guess, a world of possibilities for me. Because again, as much as I grew up not necessarily restricted, I wouldn't say restricted is the word, but I grew up in a small island. I grew up with a family who, is very focused on education, very focused on, hey, listen, like, get yourself together, get a good job, do well in life. And as much as I do think that is important, I do think education is the basis for many things, if not all things. As I got older, I also realized that I never really heard, oh, let's travel. Oh, let's go here. Oh, let's dream big and do all these things. Sometimes it comes in a sense of, I've always wanted to do X, Y, and Z thing, but never, all right, so listen, I want to do this and I'm going to do this and it's going to be great. And I'm saying that because in traveling and surrounding myself with girlfriends who are very successful, who are smart, educated, beautiful women, right? As much as we started traveling when we were young meaning I was 22, 23, when we started traveling, broke. I ain't had no money. I was just going back to nursing school. I had just graduated college and listened, girl, I don't even know. I always say this, and it's something that my friends always say, that Ashley always say this. I don't know how I was taking these trips. Granted, I had savings and things like that, but I really was out here cruising, flying, going on these trips with, like, really less than $1,000 to my name. And it's amazing to me. But I think that, again, quit playing small. Stop putting fear on the things that you want to do in this life. Because when I look back at those moments, I'm like, girl, I was making probably $12 an hour at the time, maybe $16 an hour at the time, working 2 days a week. But I pushed myself. I wanted to go on a trip with my friends, and I said, you know what? Why not? Why not? And they have given me the space to explore, to dream big, to think about things in a different way. I may limit myself because of my environments, because of my experiences, because of the way I was brought up. And it's not, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that your environment has a lot to do with how you mold yourself as you get older. But now I'm like, nah, dream big. No, I do want to go halfway around the world. Matter of fact, I do want to take a 12-hour flight to go somewhere nice. You know, and some people might say, it's overrated, it's this, it's that, but at least I can say I did it. And not for the pleasure of others, or not for the validation, I should say, of others, but for the pleasure of myself, for being able to say, yes, I went out and I did this thing, and I love the fact that I did it. Like, I look back and I'm like, yo, I really went to Dubai a couple months ago. And again, it's not for the validation of others, but it's looking back, I'm like, oh my goodness, we really did that. And that's exactly what my friend was talking about this morning. But again, giving myself the opportunities, taking hold of those opportunities, of those moments where I can explore the world. I can explore whatever it is that I put my mind to, because I don't allow fear to hold me back. I don't allow, um, the opinions and the thoughts of others to dictate how I move through life. I think that is very important. And as the definition said, living a life unliked. I would hate, I know I'm going to heaven. Listen, all this rapture talk, hey, when the Lord comes back, I'm going to be on his coattails, because absolutely not. I cannot go to hell. Anyway, I digress. But living a life unliked, when I think about even the older generation in my life, I always go back to thinking, I wonder if they are happy. I wonder if they feel a sense of joy of the life that they've lived up until this point. Because when you think about the old days, the 40s, 50s, 60s, where a lot of my age group, our grandparents grew up in, they had kids, they moved through life. Now they're in their 80s, 90s. And when I think about that, I'm like, I really do hope that if God spares my life, and if I get to that point, that I'll look back on my life, that I'll look back and be able to share stories with my grandkids and say, girl, your grandmother did ah. Because I think that's important. I think that there's so much more to life than go to work, come home, go to school, come home. I think that in playing small, a lot of the times we allow ourselves to be held back and we don't experience things. And then we get older and then we live a life of resent. And it's like, why didn't nobody tell me? How comes? And I just, especially now, as I said, given how life has been for me for the past year, I just know that life is short. I could record this today and be gone tomorrow. And I want to make sure that at every moment, even in the moments that I don't feel like it, but at every moment I am not necessarily romanticizing life, but just thinking of life in a different way. I don't want to take anything for granted. I don't want to sit and think, it's fine. We can just do this next year, because next year may never happen. If it's one thing that I've always said, again, given the loss of my stepmom, and everybody's outlook is going to be a little bit different, but I'm so appreciative of the fact that she was able to experience going to the motherland months before she passed. And, there are many things to dissect in that, but I'm appreciative. And I say that because I think it's so important to, again, live your life unapologetically. if it's one thing that I remember her saying to me before she took the trip, she said, Ash, I want to live. Like, I want to live. And I remember feeling a sense of, I don't know if it's proud, I don't know what the word is, but I remember just feeling like, yes. Like, it's almost like finally, and because she was a woman that worked hard. She was a woman that put her all into everything that she did. But I never saw rest. I never saw enjoyment. And this is from my lens, right? I can look at it. She may think her life was amazing. And I may be like, no, you could do something more. But I wanted to feel that sense of I did it. I went there. I wasn't just talking about it. And I hope that this is making sense because for me at this stage in life, when I look at my goals, my dreams, things like that, it really isn't for anybody else's enjoyment. It's for mine. But even sometimes in the little things, I feel like we have to put our all. We put our mind to it. We have to give it our all and get there. And in her saying, Ash, I want to live. I'm going on this trip. I just felt like a proud daughter and like, yes, you absolutely should. You absolutely should enjoy it. You absolutely should take, that time. And again, it's a lot to dissect, for me in my own time. But I think that it's important for us to not allow the things of life to get so caught up in the things of life that we forget why we're here. That we forget that, you know, nothing is promised, no day is promised. We forget that this is really just time borrowed because we're all going to die at some point. We're all going to have that day where we're no longer, and we have families, friends, whatever, saying, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe." We're all going to have that moment. And so until my moment comes, I want to make sure that I put my all into everything. Sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I'm still, again, yes, scared, but in all things, I just want to make sure, Ash, don't hold yourself back. So I'm encouraging you to do the same. Don't hold yourself back because of fear of others, what they think, what you think you should be doing. It's not worth it. Trust me when I say it's not worth it. If it's one thing that I have pushed and encouraged, it's live your life unapologetically. Break down whatever barriers you have, break down whatever traumas you have, break whatever strongholds you have so that you can truly experience this life to its fullest. And I truly wholeheartedly believe in that. So, saying all that, I wanted to give you some signs of playing small. And these are some of these things I have strongly resonated with over the years and sometimes still do. And it's work that I don't think quit playing small and you stop it right there. It is work that has to be put in. I'm a strong believer of therapy. I'm a strong believer of speaking to someone professional or just a trusted source in getting feedback, in getting, what's the word I'm looking for? In getting professional help in how to dissect and how to dismantle and how to really get past certain things so you can experience life. I strongly believe in that. So signs of playing small: hiding your true self, avoiding risks. That's something I can tell you that I don't change. It's hard for me. It is hard for me, and I've had to learn over the years how to just accept change, roll with the punches, and move. Don't sit on it. Don't sulk on it. Just move. So avoiding risk is a big one. Letting fear rule. As I said, a lot of us sit in fear sometimes and don't take hold of opportunities, don't take hold of experiences that could really change our lives because of fear, because of this crippling anxiety that we have that something's going to go wrong. Somebody's going to say something. Oh, we're going to look stupid or foolish. Like letting that fear overcome and take over is a huge one. Waiting for others. Now, Waiting for others for me means there may be moments when I want to do something. And I've seen this all over social media. I want to do something and I'm like, this looks cool. I should do that. But I'm like, I don't want to do it alone. And my friends may not be interested, right? But I'm like, oh my goodness, like I can't go out there alone by myself. That's so nerve-wracking. And even that is something that over the years I have had to say, no, you were born by yourself. You're an individual. You absolutely can. And it may be nerve-wracking, it may feel weird, but don't wait for others to experience the things of life. Obviously, there's some things you want to do with your friends, but especially if they say no, it's like, why not take the risk? Why not take the chance? Why not go out and do it anyway? One of the things that I want to experience is traveling alone, going on a solo vacation. It scares me for a lot of reasons, um, and some based on past experiences, but it is something that I would love to do because why not? Your friends won't always be at your beck and call. People are married, people got kids, people are moving in different phases in their lives. There are people who are going back to school, so I think waiting for others, again, for me is a big one because in allowing myself to live, I'm like, all right, well, you might have to take a vacation by yourself at some point with nobody at your side. No, no friend to do all the things with. And that's okay. And then settling for less. Man, listen, especially at this big age, it is something that I will absolutely refuse to do. No ma'am, no sir. And so I refuse to settle for less. I refuse to settle for less than I believe I deserve. And especially as I move into a season and a space of what God wants for me, if I don't feel like it's on the same wavelength, I'm not partaking in it. Can't. Sorry, no, not available, can't do it. Because no, we're no longer doing that. Playing small is attaching yourselves to the moments, the things, the environments that you no longer identify with and choosing to cower to stoop to that level. I'm not doing that anymore. Some of the reasons people play small is fear of vulnerability. They don't want to open up. They don't want to expose themselves. Past trauma, low self-worth, and external pressures. And especially, as teenagers in our mid-20s, we know what external pressures feel like. A lot of times having to kind of move with the crowd, move when your friends say you gotta move, as opposed to listening and tapping into your own voice so that you can, again, quit playing small, so that you can act on the things that you want to act on, the dreams that you want to dream, or the dreams that you have aspirations for. And following those external pressures and listening to those outside voices, I do believe that a lot of times we steer away from what we're called to do, what we feel like we're destined to do or to be because of other people. So some of the things that I think you can do to stop playing small are embracing risk. I'm not saying go out there and spend all your money because you feel like you can win the lottery tomorrow. No. I'm not saying get up and move to a different country and spend all your money. No, there are ways to take risks without being gaudy, or you do have to put some thought into it. You do have to make sure that you are calculated, and I am a believer of calculated risks. If I know I got $10,000, I might invest 5, I might blow 2, and then 3, we'll do something with it a little bit, right? So taking calculated risks is very important. Cultivating self-awareness. Taking account of who you are, how you show up, what makes you comfortable, uncomfortable, what fuels you and what doesn't. And I've always tapped on, especially now that I live alone, I think it's important to use those quiet moments to really get to learn yourself. If that's not where you are in life right now, that's okay. Even if you're married with kids, and I say this time and time again, find that 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, if you can, per day. Go lock yourself up in the closet. Wait until the kids and the husbands and the wives and whoever else is are asleep, and really discover what you like. I know sometimes when I listen to people, like, especially older people, and they will say, oh, like, I had the kids, I had the this, I had the this. Sometimes it's almost like they lost themselves because they got married young or they had kids young and they didn't really get the time to explore who they really are. I think self-awareness plays into how we mold ourselves for our futures, how we move throughout life. If you're playing small, it may be because you don't know the value that you hold, and that is something to take account of. Building confidence ties directly into self-awareness. If I know that I struggle with a certain thing, I may want to seek out mentors. I may want to seek out people who are masters of that certain thing to help me build on my confidence, to show me how to show up in certain spaces, how to maneuver in certain environments. Taking action. Sometimes you got to get out your head and just put pen to paper and get it done. I talked about going to Dubai earlier this year. I was in my head a lot for a lot of different reasons. And I remember speaking to my therapist at the time, and she said to me, she was like, okay, but what's the worst that can happen? She said, life is going to play out and happen regardless of if you take the trip or don't take the trip. And chances are you'll go on the trip and nothing happens. But if you don't go on the trip and nothing happens, will you be okay? Will you have regretted that decision to not go? And once she put that in my head, I was like, you know what? Yeah. It took me maybe a week, and I was like, yeah, I'm going. Let me know when y'all pay. Let me know how much they give you. Let me know how much. And I was just like, this is my trip. I'm going. Take the action. And not to say that you're gonna do it without thought, right? I took the trip and I was like, all right, wait a minute. What's my budget? How much? If I do and I go and my bills are gonna be perfect, great. And I was out. So take action. Yes, put a plan in place, but don't allow the plan or don't allow the thoughts that you have about said plan to cripple you, to hold you back. We're not doing that anymore. And then last but not least is showing up authentically. Later in my 20s, when I told you I launched the blog, the name of the blog is Own Your Authenticity. And I remember just thinking to myself, I remember the night I actually started the blog, and then I came up with the name and all the things. And in the moment that I had to come up with a name, I had to tap into, again, this goes back to self-awareness. I had to tap into what I was feeling. What am I feeling? What was that thing, that driver? And it was just all about showing up authentically, showing up as my true self, showing up unapologetically, showing up without fear of what others will think about me. When I got to 30, baby, I was like, bro, it was like a renewed sense of self. It was like this unspoken feeling of just, I don't give a hoot about who, what, why, when, and where. I just didn't. And my friends had told me, they were like, Ash, trust me, when you get to 30, like, you gonna feel it. And I'm like, guys, really? Like, come on. I got to 30. I swear to you, the day I got to 30, I was like, oh, word? Oh, all right, say less. It was just this renewed sense of stepping into really who I was authentically. Like, I don't owe anybody explanations. I've already gone through my 20s. I've already done the schooling thing and the college thing, and I'm in my career. And I don't want to say dibbled and dabbled in purpose, but I'm on a purpose journey, right? I may not have it all figured out, but I almost took account of all the things that happened in those 30 years or at that 30-year mark. And I was like, bruh, if I can do all these things up until 30, I'm really unstoppable. And that's why I said, quit playing small. Once you get to a point where you're self-aware, where you take account of all the things that you have done or all the things that you want to do, and you give voice to that, and you give some fuel to that fire, trust me, you can be unstoppable. And you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know everything. Trust me. Right now at 32, I don't have all the answers, but I show up anyway. There are times when I feel like, oh my God, like, God, I don't know why you don't like me today. Trust me, in this past week, there are moments that I've felt like that. But then I come out and I'm like, you know what? But it's molding me for more, whatever more looks like. I feel like I'm truly being molded, that when I step out and people see me, they're like, nah, she got it. Even when she don't got it, she got it. And that's truly how I feel sometimes. I truly think that in showing up authentically, as I said before, and everything that I encompassed in this episode, laughing unapologetically, laughing out loud, dancing in the middle of the street, saying and doing things that make me feel unstoppable, make me feel powerful, I think plays a huge part in me not playing small. I refuse to do that anymore. Sometimes, as I said, my voice may shake a little bit when I gotta speak. I may not have all the answers. I may feel foolish. I may be afraid of looking foolish. But I'm at that age and I'm at that space in life where I'm like, you know what? God brought me here. He got me to this point. I think that he's still molding me into the woman that I'm becoming, whatever she may look like. And I think that I owe it to myself and others to show up authentically and unapologetically. So I said a lot this episode. This topic is, again, near and dear to my heart because not only was it my first speaking engagement topic, but I truly believe that this is how I've chosen to live my life. And I choose to live a life of fulfillment, a life of purpose, a life where I can show up unapologetically and be truly who I am. And in that, I'm going to invite you to quit playing small. Whatever is holding you back, whatever it is that you feel like, and I always say this, is harping in your spirit, whatever it is that is kind of knocking on the door of your heart to do, to be, to put out into the world, if it's something that even you owe it to yourself to just show up in a different way, to show up a little bit more, I encourage you to tap into that. I encourage you to open that door in your heart. I encourage you to listen to that small, still voice in your head. I encourage you to pray about it. A lot of what got me through these past years is prayer, is really asking God, like, what am I doing here? Like, how do you want me to show up? How do you want me to be? Like, I don't want to feel like I'm holding back anymore. I don't want to feel like, I care so much about what others think that it cripples me. I don't want to feel that way anymore. So I encourage you to, 1, quit playing small, but 2, tap into those things and those moments that make you feel that way. I hope that there was at least one thing in this episode, because I did say a lot, that resonates with you. I hope that there is something that you can take away from this episode. I hope that even if it's the smallest piece, I hope that it allows you to move forward even in the smallest bit, because I do think that makes a world of a difference. So please share this episode with a friend. Come over on Instagram, InFullBloomPod, and hit me up in the comments. Let me know how you liked the episode. Let me know if it resonated with you. Let me know if there's any piece of this episode that you want to chat a little bit more about. I am 100% open. You can always reach out to me via email as well at infobloomthepod@gmail.com. If you're interested in being a guest on this episode or any of these episodes, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to have you. I would love to connect with you. Let's start some conversations. Let's ruffle some feathers. Let's be great. Let's live this life in full bloom. And I hope to see you and hear from you in the next episode. Thank you for listening.